2 Timothy 2, we pretty much worked our way through verse 24. The Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful. I camped out for quite a while yesterday on this not resentful thing. My theory is, and I tested it pretty well in my own life and with clients, the cure, if there is a cure in that sense, but the antidote for resentment is forgiveness. I'm going to say it again, that resentment is the result of not knowing what to do about the pain we feel from an emotional injury or from doing the wrong thing with that pain, because the natural result of that pain will be anger. If we don't deal with that anger appropriately, it will become resentment, and resentment is a poison that goes in every kind of direction for every kind of relationship. Okay, so let's not replow the same ground, Stevie boy. The antidote of forgiveness doesn't happen in a moment. And oh, by the way, it isn't motivated by emotion. You see, and you know this, if we only forgave people when we feel like forgiving people, we would base it, most of us, now, okay, I'm not going to make you guilty of my sin, but I would be essentially a forgiveness absent person because I almost never feel like forgiving. That's maybe not true. When someone that is dear to me does a small thing, I feel like forgiving that, right? But if someone dear to me betrays me, I don't feel like forgiving. If I am to forgive, I have to do it as an act of my will. And that takes me back to what I said yesterday or last time about choosing to forgive. The memory of that offense is not likely to go away. Oh, by the way, when we forgive, it doesn't make the memory of the wounding or the offense or the injury go away. The phrase forgive and forget, well, that applies to God. He is able to forget our offenses. He promises us to. Okay, so last time, I'm going to say it again. We're not God. I don't know that we are capable of forgetting what happened to us. We're certainly not capable of forgetting what happened to us when it has caused a deep wound, a huge disruption, negative disruption in our lives. Now, here's the thing about forgiveness. Because it's not an event, but a process of me choosing every time the memory of that wound or injury comes to mind, choosing to forgive the one who did the thing to me. Quickly, I'm going to say, to just pray a prayer, Lord, help me to forgive. Okay, the motive on that is right, but it lacks effectiveness in a lot of ways because of its generality. Who do you need to forgive and want to forgive? And what did they do to you? You see, you can't forgive something that you haven't identified. You already know that. You've heard me say it. If you want to rid yourself of resentment, then your only viable option is to forgive the person who did what they did that injured you. Will you forget it? Well, maybe. I do know this. As you move through this process of choosing to forgive over time, and that injury doesn't continue to re-injure you every time you remember it, you'll remember it less often. And when you remember it, it will not have the sting and pain that it had before you seriously entered this enterprise, this effort in partnership with Christ to choose to forgive. There could be a time down the road where because you haven't thought of it in such a long time, it's as though you had forgotten it. Forgiveness makes that possible. But I come back to, I am not a believer in forgive and forget. I'm a believer in forgive. Now, quickly this, we have to separate the fact that God, He doesn't say, forgiving is a good idea. It's helpful to your own emotional, mental, and spiritual health. God doesn't suggest that we forgive the ones who hurt us. He says, forgive as the Lord forgave you. So this is a non-optional thing for a follower of Jesus. It comes down to the fact that if I want to follow Jesus, this will require that I forgive others. All right. I want to do that. I want to be a devoted follower of Jesus. Okay. It's not easy, right? And so realize that it is a difficult task, but also realize you don't do this by just grinding it out, and, pulling and pushing as hard as you can. It's not all about effort. It's about effort in partnership with Christ. Okay, here's an aspect of forgiving that I think sometimes I have had the experience of working with people who they lacked clarity on what do you do if I forgive a person, then I have to trust them, right? Well, I don't know. I don't think that. It's pretty interesting how few times God, through Scripture in the New Testament, says, be sure you trust the people around you. There's a lot of implication of that. I mean, when you're in this, in God's family, and it is operating in a healthy fashion, then you do trust the members of your family. But the Bible never connects forgiveness and trust. My sense on that is I forgive a person, and forgiving them means I choose not to hurt you for how you hurt me. All right? I am not obligated to trust them because I forgave them. I'm obligated to forgive them because I've chosen to follow Jesus, and that sets a series of obligations. Well, with the trust thing, why do we trust? Well, initially in a relationship, we give trust not so much because of experience, because we haven't logged in any experience yet. So before we have enough experience for that to come in as a factor, we trust as a given. But as the relationship grows, either we have this sense that the person is trustworthy, and in that case, we trust them more, or they are not trustworthy, and we trust them less. Okay. You know, a fourth grader may not have the vocabulary for that, but that's what they do. This is not rocket science. When you forgive someone who has hurt you, do you have to trust them? My thought on that is no. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that, okay? So if you want to go to that level where we have to defend it, and it's not wrong to defend your ideas because of what Scripture says. In this case, Scripture doesn't say that. So, if we don't have to trust someone in order to forgive them, and if we forgive them, we're not obligated to trust them, what do we do then? Well, I'm going to give you my opinions and theories on this. First of all, there are some people who hurt you, who you have to choose to forgive. This is not about them deserving forgiveness, and it's not about you being so good that you'll just be the mature one. No, this is about you following the example of Jesus. You forgive them. Once you've done that business in your own heart and mind, do they even need to know that you forgave them? I don't think so, not always, because it's not for them, it's for you. So, now there are people that you will forgive, that you choose to forgive and enter this process, whom it is unwise to stay connected to them in a deep relationship. Certainly, you have to account for the fact that until they begin to demonstrate that they are trustworthy, it is unwise to release trust. Okay? So, if I forgive them, would that change my relationship with them? It might. Number one, doesn't change them. Me forgiving them is all about me going free. I forgive them so that I don't have to carry around this thing, this wounding, that it won't shape my perception of life. The trust factor is on them. They have to earn trust on this level. If you want to be more and more like Christ, as I know you do, then we have to extend grace more and more. So this trust thing, earning trust, you have to weave in grace into that process. If you don't know what you're looking for in order to be able to release trust, that's going to be a problem for you. Consider, what would you need to experience with this person in order to demonstrate to you that you can release more trust because they are trustworthy? That's a hard thing. I have to do this with conflicted couples in counseling all the time. I have to do it in my own life. When you forgive, you have an exit ramp from resentment. And you can become more and more and more free and liberated from the bondage of resentment through forgiveness. But you don't snap your fingers. It's not a one-moment event. It can be a difficult process, but you're not in the process alone. You're in partnership with the forgiver. Okay, I'll pick it up again next time on So Care with Stevie Boy.